It was International Transgender Day of Visibility this week on Thursday the 31st actually, so I'm just going to stand here and be all visible for you for a few seconds. That'll do, let's get on with the video.
So, Veronica, we doing this or what?
Oh right, it's Saturday already. Yeah, sure, let's get on with it.
And what new and exciting game are we going to look at this week?
I don't know, Saints Row 4?
You played nothing new.
I played nothing new this week, yeah. So not too long ago we talked about Saints Row the Third, a fun crime sandbox game which I rather enjoyed, and I mentioned how strongly I preferred it to any GTA title. I reinstalled the next game in the series, Saints Row 4, mostly to get some nice B-roll to add to the folder, and ended up spending way longer playing the game than I intended. Long story short, I ended up on the PS5 starting a new game rather than just going to my PS4 version of the game to get footage from that. I used to stream this game back when I went under the name Phantas Victus. I keep wondering if I should go back and do it some more, but I approach the idea of streaming similar to how I approach the idea of driving. I kind of want to do it until I think about it more, because when I think about it more, oh boy, there go the anxiety attacks, and I kind of need less of them this year. So since I played the game so much, and since at the time of writing I'm rich by the standards of a 14th century shit shoveler, I may as well talk about it. Saints Row 4 follows the leader of the 3rd Street Saints from the last game, only now we're running a counter-terrorist operation in the Middle East, tracking down Cyrus Temple, the former commander of an anti-street gang task force now turned terrorist leader. Don't worry, my brain didn't just die on me, well, no more than usual. This is still a Saints Row game, and this is relevant to the end of the last game, I promise you. We fight through a base to kill him, but not before he launches a nuke, which is targeting Washington DC because he's apparently become really unhinged. So our character's reasonable, level-headed response is to leap onto the nuke and disarm it mid-flight as their crew bids them a tearful goodbye. And this works. We drop down from the nuke and land in the Oval Office, thus becoming president. That's how politics work, right? If you want, you can just take over. This remains one of my favourite opening sequences from a video game. It so perfectly sets up the exact ride we're in for, much better than the previous game did. So we're in charge, and through some carefully crafted dialogue, we discover that the boss is running the country into the ground so hard that getting nuked might have actually been an improvement. We're going about our day doing our presidential things, but then suddenly aliens invade, kidnap us and our homies, and then we're forced to wage a cyber war against them.
Do you think the writers were taking too much ADHD medicine, or not enough?
What are you saying, that the plot is so fucking mental that only people addicted to fistfuls of drugs and gallons of alcohol could have written it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh, yeah, I can see that. Saints Row 4 is still a Saints Row game, and the Saints Row games are well known for their goofiness, but always manage to make it make sense in context. And even more than that, still manage to tell a coherent story. It reminds me of the anime Kill la Kill a bit. It too was crazy and over the top, but was surprisingly well paced, with a well thought through narrative, and a betrayal scene that I didn't see coming, but made immediate sense when it did. I highly recommend Kill la Kill, by the way, give it a watch. It does do a lot of fan service though, so, you know, if you don't like that sort of thing, maybe skip it. Saints Row 4 quickly gets back to the crime sandbox thing as we're put in a simulation of Steelport from the last game. You might think we're dealing with a direct cut and paste situation, and we kind of are, though there are a lot of distinctions between this Steelport and the one from Saints Row 3. There's little alien tech bits on some of the buildings and bridges. If you're in alien controlled territory, the sky becomes red. If you're in Saints controlled territory, the sky becomes blue. And there's all sorts of little messages from the alien overlord just trying to break your spirit, like obedience is rewarded, insolence is punished, things like that. There's also a giant alien spaceship in the sky. I could probably have mentioned that a lot sooner. But the real change comes in the gameplay. We aren't just running around hijacking cars and shooting this time. Not too long into the game we unlock superpowers, and we get to use them for traversal and combat. It's a case where reusing a previous game's map works because we're interacting with it completely differently. It's the same stage but a different play. We're not driving around city streets anymore, though you're still free to do that if you so wish. Now you can run faster than cars, or leap over buildings, or pretty much fly after a certain point. And you get all sorts of different superpowers to play with, like you can buff your attacks with different elemental bonuses. You can do a super stomp that sends enemies flying, you can shoot ice or explosions out of your hands, you can use telekinesis, it's a lot of fun. Personally, my favourite superpower is using the blast but with the explosion element, because when you shoot an explosion at an enemy, it doesn't stop with the enemy, it starts a whole chain reaction. If an enemy's close enough to another enemy, it'll explode. If they're close enough to a car, it'll explode. You can clear out whole streets full of enemies with one carefully placed shot. And later on you unlock a power that lets you sort of hover in midair, choose a target, and then do a powerful ground pound. And with one upgrade you can basically make it nuclear. There's also these loose data clusters you can find around town which you can use to upgrade your powers. And what I like about them is you've got to use your powers to sort of get to them. You've got to marry your jumping and your dashing in order to be able to reach them effectively. It's quite fun to just fly around the city collecting them. You don't need to be stylish about it, don't get me wrong, you could just walk up to every building and just jump up it and then collect it that way, but what I like to do was just start running and jumping from building to building, just trying to keep myself going. It was a lot of fun. The game makes getting around just way too much fun that I could just spend hours doing it, and I have spent hours doing it. Every so often I'd go back down to the street level, I'd call up my homies, get in my car, go for a drive, listen to their dialogue. Sometimes it's nice to slow down like that, so that when I start flying and shooting fire out my wrist, it becomes special again. It is kind of annoying though that the game will contrive a reason for your powers to not work sometimes. See, when you're rescuing your homies so you can bring the fight to Zinyak, you have to enter their simulations, but their simulations aren't your simulation and you can't carry your powers over. Although you can carry all your gun upgrades and health upgrades over. I'm not entirely sure why that's the case. I think the game maybe just regrets giving us the superpowers way too early. But it did make me really hesitant to go and rescue my mates because I just knew in those missions, I've got to walk around slowly shooting things like a previous Saints Row game. It's really hard to go back down to that level. And it's a shame because rescuing the homies, those missions, they're actually quite fun. They've got a lot of story to them. They've also got a lot of variety to them. The one where you rescue your mate Ben King basically takes you back to a Saints Row 2 style of play. Even the camera moves to be right behind you as it was in Saints Row 2. One of your mates you have to rescue by playing a text adventure. Your big mate Johnny you got to rescue by getting through a fucking 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. One of the missions is just a parody of Metal Gear Solid right down to hiding in the boxes. These missions are great, it's just a shame that I'm so hesitant to do them because I don't want to leave my superpowers behind because they're the things I've been upgrading throughout the entire game. When I first played I was really worried that right at the end when we have to face the big alien overlord that I wouldn't get my powers. Thankfully that isn't the case, you do get to use your superpowers so keep upgrading them, it's definitely worth it. Something else I really liked were the loyalty missions, even if one of them I played did fuck up a little bit. Basically, once you've rescued one of your homies, you get to do a loyalty mission which can unlock superpowers for them. And the missions are usually just quite a bit of fun. Some of them stop you from using your powers, but not all of them. One of them gives you your powers right back at the end when the person's like, oh crap, we can't win this way, here, have superpowers back, you need them. Again though, they're a lot of fun. On the subject of fun, a lot of the activities from the previous Saints Rows have returned, mostly in the form of your mayhem and your carjacking and your hitman missions. But on top of that, you've also got these cool rifts that you can race through or jump through. The fraud missions return, but because you got superpowers, you can jump much higher to let yourself flop even further. Later on, you unlock things like mech suit mayhem, which is brilliant. You've got to do most of these to unlock a lot of the rewards that your homies will give you, but again, they're pretty much all fun, so I don't mind doing them. Half the time I'd be on my way to doing a main mission and look down and see an activity in fiction, I'd just go and do that. That could be a lot of fun, and I would do it, and it would be fun, and I'd get a reward. Yay. There's still a notoriety meter in this game. The more crimes you commit, the more aggressive the police response becomes. Only this time around they're replaced with aliens quite soon into it. And then eventually the aliens start throwing dangerous robots at you. Once you max out your notoriety, it summons an alien warden, who's basically a little mini-boss who will throw stuff at you and shoot lasers at you. Fighting them becomes a lot easier late game when you've got all your powers, but early game they can be a massive chore. They're a bit like the brutes in that sense from the third game. However, at least Saints Row 4 is nice enough to clear the streets when you're having a smackdown with them. Most of them have a shield, so you need to use your powers to take that down. Once you weaken them enough, you can jump into them and take them over, and basically absorb their code into yours because something simulation something. I don't think it makes much logical sense, but it makes mechanical sense, and it's a fun little feature just jumping into an alien and taking them over, so I'm fine with it.
I notice how much more forgiving you are of a game that has things working from a mechanical standpoint, yet not a logical standpoint when you like a game.
Can you blame me? If the rest of the game is quality, then either these mechanical choices are working towards making it so, or simply do not hinder it. Saints Row 4 knows what it's doing, and I think it's a pretty good game.
Meh, I didn't care for it.
I don't like you. I'm looking back now, wondering if I've covered everything that needs to be covered. Well, I haven't done much criticism, have I? Maybe we should get some done now. It's kind of a shame that the whole hijacking cars mechanic is completely pointless. You'll only ever need cars if you're with your homies, but you can get through most of the game without ever needing to call them. And the few missions where you're summoned in to join them, they usually have a car ready, so what's the point? It's a shame because I like both the driving mechanics in the Saints Row games and I love the car customization. You can still do a lot of the car customization, and I did for ages. This is my favourite car that I made in the game. I used it a grand total of 4 times. Because again, I could basically just fly where I needed to go. It doesn't take long to upgrade your powers to this point. And those data clusters you need to upgrade the powers, they seem to respawn, so you're never going to be short for them. On the one hand, I like being able to upgrade all the powers. On the other hand, hand, I do think it speaks to a lack of balance that I can upgrade them all to be completely powerful. Is that actually a lack of balance though, or am I just reaching for things to criticise? There are some other things I can mention. I mean, it's kind of sad that a bunch of characters just get killed off with no chance to save them. Quite a lot of the gun upgrades can be rather expensive, but you get money hourly, so it's not really a big deal. Some of the puzzles you need to play to unlock all the shops, they're a bit annoying, but ultimately that's just if you suck at puzzles like I do, you're gonna have a harder time with them. I suppose I could point out how arbitrary it is that most of our mates have the same missions for us in the simulation. I guess it's just to contrive a reason for us to do them though. I'm sure there are some other things here and there, but at the end of the day, Saints Row 4 is just a really good game and a fantastic end to its series. Fun is not dead, people, no matter how hard the industry tries to kill it. If you want fun, go to Saints Row 4, it's one of the best experiences in gaming I've ever had.
Yeah, Saints Row 4 and all that, but hey look, I have GTA 5 on me! My power knows no limits!
Yeah, no. Seriously, what was the point of you again?